start, what brought you into the world of soccer?
What brought me to the world of soccer is a pretty interesting and funny story, I think. I was a athlete in Florida, South Florida, and growing up down there, it was always sunny, so we were always outside playing, whether it was tag football or baseball or pickup basketball, like you name it. I didn't really play soccer. Like, it wasn't a sport, a go-to sport back then. It was something that I was a little bit familiar with, but not a lot familiar with. And in high school, I played all of the sports that were available to girls at that time, which was the traditional, like volleyball and softball and basketball. And actually, the high school that I attended started a women's soccer team. And this was going back until like the early 80s, the beginning of the 80s. And I can't say this for sure because I don't know if it's a fact, but they might have started the soccer team and added the soccer team at my high school because of Title IX. We had a big football program in my high school. It was really big. And they might have needed to add more women and girls sports because of the Title IX implementation, which would have been around that time because the law was passed in 1972. But I don't know if that's true or not. They did start the soccer team. The coach was literally like walking around school trying to get girls to come out for the soccer team. And I was approached after one of the basketball games that I played in and said, hey, why don't you come out for the soccer team here? And I said, sure, why not? So that's how I got introduced to soccer, and it was a good ask, and it was a good acceptance because it turned out to be my best sport.
What was it like kind of being part of the United States women's national soccer team?
Well, being a part of the team was super special then, and I recognized the significance and the enormity of it then, but now to be a part of that tradition and that sisterhood and that alumni is quite amazing because of all of the attention and all of the great things that program is doing. But at the time that was happening, it was super early in women's international soccer, and I was just a kid in college, doing what kids do in college, which is kind of, going to school and having a good time with your friends. And I was playing soccer in college, a serious Division I athlete. But then they started this thing called the women's national team, and I was chosen to the team, which meant that I was playing with the best players in the entire country. And they then sent us on this international tour to go over to Italy to play international games, like the first international games that the U.S. women's team played in. So I recognized just the significance of that, like being the best at your position in your entire country, and then having the chance to play and start in the very first game that was ever going to be played. It was quite significant. Like right now, I'm coaching in women's amateur soccer for a team in Brooklyn called Brooklyn City Football Club, and it's a really great boutique soccer club that's very much dedicated to women and girls soccer and doing everything right in that space for women and girls. They wanted to start a women's amateur team. This was going way back to like 2019. So they approached me and asked me if I would be the coach of that team. And after talking with them and finding out about the organization, I really liked them. I really liked what they're doing. I wanted to work with this group, and I wanted to help them launch their women's, what would be their senior team. So it's a summer coaching job, which a lot of games are on the weekend. So it fit right in with my schedule with NYU. So I really took the opportunity and jumped at it once I got to know them, and it kept me, or at least got me connected back to the women's game, because I'm primarily coaching on the men's side here at NYU.
What were some of the dynamic changes that you saw, things like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that situation, we could talk for hours about it. The fact that I was here coaching on the women's side in itself was a story, because Michelle Canning got the head coaching job here at NYU, which was her first head coaching job, and she had actually started her coaching career with me much earlier, way back in like 1997, when I was the head coach at Florida Atlantic University on the women's side. She became my volunteer assistant coach, and so she then pays her dues and does a great job and ends up being the coach here at NYU. And I was at a time period in my life where I was taking some time off from my career. My kids were born in 2006 and 2008, so I was spending a lot of time at home with them. But Michelle got the job here in 2011, and I said, well, hey, now I'm in a position to be your assistant coach. And so that's how I came on board here at NYU. So I'd had a lot of experience, and I was just kind of taking a pause in my career. And then, 4 years later, because I'd been here on staff already, we had this event where the longtime coach of the men's soccer program here had to resign one game into the season 2015 due to like a family situation, an emergency. So here it's like the university found itself in a position where one game into a season they lose their head coach of a program, and they needed a coach immediately that could step into that super critical kind of messy situation and sustain the team, or coach the team for the remainder of the season. So they asked me immediately, like when this happened, which was totally unexpected. I was happy helping Michelle, but the call was, I realized the seriousness of the situation, and I thought I put myself in the situation that the players were in, and because I had been a player myself, and I thought about being in college, like how excited I was to go to college, and being on a team, how much that meant to me, and representing the university, how much I liked that. And I thought about the players must be in such distress knowing that their coach just left. Like, what's going to happen to our season? What are we going to do? Like, I've just spent 3 weeks in preseason, earning my jersey, and a lot of athletes know what goes along with that entails and that commitment. So I really thought about that, and how I said I'm more than qualified. I've had a lot of head coaching roles, but I've never taken over a team like one game into the season, and so that was really messy and challenging. So that was the transition. It was super serious, and let's get in there, let's meet the team. Let me kind of calm down the situation and just say, listen, I've never experienced this, like taking over a team one game in the season. I'm sure you've never lost a coach one game into the season, but we'll get through it together. To my thoughts further on that is that because so much was going on, I didn't really have time to think about long term. I just had to think about, okay, meet the team, learn the names of the players, learn what positions they play, and kind of figuring it out as we went along here. And I really thought that I was in a good place to sort of be a caretaker for the team for the season. Like, I can get them through this. Like, I can provide them what they're looking for, which is to play and to practice and to be a part of the team. But as I had that experience and things really started to calm down, I thought, well, I really like this. Like, I'm enjoying working with the guys, and I see a lot of potential in the team, and I think I'd really like to stay on and become the official head coach of the team. And so here we are, 6 or 7 years later.
More coaching.
Well, I think that the experience that I had was like enormous in helping me transition to coaching. And what a lot of people say is that coaches become the type of coach that they were exposed to. And I was very, very fortunate, I feel like, in my career that I really had great coaches. And they were phenomenal people, and they were really, really good coaches. So I was able to take a little bit from like my college coach, and then I had 3 different coaches when I played during my time on the women's national team. And of course, if you're coaching at that level, you're really, really good. So I was able to take a lot of stuff from them. And then I was also in the game, at least on the women's side, at a very early time in this country. So just having the credentials of playing at the levels that I played at, which was Division I soccer and the women's national team, it was very easy to gain like that credibility that you need to have administrators put you in charge of entire teams. So I think my playing background was enormously beneficial for me. But having said that, when I talk to young people who are considering a coaching career, I always say, like, you have to do like the work. And I went and I took all of my coaching license that I could, and I still do, and I still go to seminars, and I still watch videos. Like, I'm always trying to make sure that I'm educated as a coach on the latest best practices for the field. So it's always a continuing process, and it's a road to get to become a coach, which takes a lot of time. It takes putting in a lot of effort. It takes putting in maybe even doing some stuff as a volunteer and not getting paid for it. You have to do all of that stuff in order to build your resume to get to a point where you can become a head coach of a program.
Are there any women candidates that come to mind?
Well, I mean, I think that's that's a loaded question, right? Because
Yeah.
I do think that because I've done a lot of interviews about the lack of like female coaches leading a men's team, whether it's soccer or volleyball or go down the list, baseball, football, the bigger sports. But if you think about it, when I think about it, is our administrators really doing service to their teams if they're only considering like one type of gender to coach their teams, right? I mean, I guess that's sort of way over my pay grade in terms of what I'm super thankful here at NYU is that they didn't really care about my gender. They just felt that they had an extremely qualified coach that could step into a super messy situation immediately. So I only hope that people who are in positions of managing and hiring coaches do have an open mind and will consider a candidate that is qualified regardless of what their gender might be. And I always point to Jill Ellis, who coached our women's national team to both the 2015 Women's World Cup and to the 2019. I mean, she won 2 World Cups. And Jill Ellis, to me, is one of the most qualified coaches in the entire world, right? I mean, who can you look to on the men's side that has coached 2 World Cup championship teams, right? There's probably some out there, but there's not a whole lot. And so when you look at somebody like her, she would be extremely qualified to take over any program, college program, any pro men's team out there. She would have, in my mind, the credentials and the maturity and the professionalism and all those things, the knowledge to take over a men's team or to coach a men's team. Because I always say this is, especially in the sport of soccer, is like I'm a female coach leading a men's team, but I'm not out there competing with the men. I'm just the coach. I'm just the person that's leading the program and setting the values and setting the strategy and all of those items. So it's not really a far reach or a far jump when you think about a female coaching a male team. It's not like we're out there running around with them and having to play the game. So I hope that those opportunities are presented and available in a fair way for someone despite their gender or whatever their gender might be.
Like the idea of the universal kind of ideas of soccer and teamwork.
Right. So that's a great point, because soccer is soccer, football is football, and it's not as if the women's game is different than the men's game, and that's certainly a valid point, and it's a point that you can make with almost all sport. There's not a lot of lacrosse, I guess, there's checking allowed. There's not. Maybe hockey is the same thing, but when I thought about taking over a men's team and having never coached a full men's team, I'd worked with plenty of male players and individual coaching or private coaching or something like that. What I said to myself was like, look, the game is the game. It's not like I'm gonna go out there and coach a team that now has 12 players on the field instead of 11, or the size of the field is bigger or smaller, or we play with 2 soccer balls instead of 1, right? It's the same game, whether you're coaching male players or you're coaching female players. The coaching technique is the same. So the fact that it's universal does lend, I think, itself to saying, well, her mind. What we're really talking about is a coach's mind, like their soccer IQ, their ability to make the right tactics, or make the right read on the game, or make the right changes in the game, or pick the right players. This is all the coaching skills that you need in order to be successful, and that's what people should be judged on, is just those quality and those skills.
Anything inspiring that you'd like to say to women out there currently in any sort of male-dominated field?
Well, I always find it hard to believe that I'm like an inspiration, but I think that I am, and I'm happy and fine with that. I'm glad people feel inspired, but what I always say is it's like no big deal. That's how I kind of feel about it. Is I am finding success, and it's because I'm good at what I do, and I really work at it, and I'm very dedicated, and I love what I do, which makes a big difference. So if there are females out there that are thinking about or wanting to go into a male-dominated industry, whether it's athletics or otherwise, I just say to them, I hope that you do. Like, I hope that you pursue your dreams, and if that's your passion, I really know that you'll find success. That's what I say to them. And what I also say is, as much as you can, is don't make your gender irrelevant, because it hopefully is not relevant in the eyes of others, and just go for it.